So a few months ago I sat down to watch this movie called Parasite, and as the credits were rolling I thought to myself, oh my god, this movie is perfect, but I didn't quite understand why. And instead I had a whole bunch of questions like, what's the deal with The Rock? Okay, so the film literally says
근데 특히 이돌은 가정에 많은 재물운과 합격운을 몰고
민혁아.
던지면서
야, 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네.
For me, it wasn't just wealth though. Director Bong flat out says that
할아버님께.
Maybe this is very important moment in the movie. Why?
Because this has a lot of symbols. This stone actually has a lot of symbols in our movie.
Actually, it's some kind of symbol of his desire. Yeah.
and that makes sense. Specifically, I thought it was a symbol of his want or his aspiration. So Ki-woo's friend brings him the stone and awakens his desire and prompts him to undertake his master plan. Okay, so they refer to the plan a number of times in the film, but I only caught on quite late. The first time I noticed was in the buffet.
그럼 우리 바로 진행하는 거야?
내가 그 집 벤치에 세팅을 하긴 했거든.
그럼 바로 시작하는 거네. 와, 여기 진짜 상징적이다.
And then it made more sense when they got rid of the housekeeper.
입주인은 바뀌었는데 가정부는 안 바뀐 케이스구만.
좋은 일자리 꽉 움켜주고 안 놓는 거야.
그런 여자를 도려내려면 우리도 뭔가 준비를 해야겠다.
그치. 계획이 있어야 돼.
But eventually things fall apart.
문 좀 열어주시겠어요?
야, 어떡해. 계획이 없던 건데?
So the plan isn't exactly hidden, but I realized later that the master plan was started way before this. How do I know? Jessica jingle.
아 잠깐. 제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 이사촌.
Ki-woo repeats along with Jessica. He does this because he made her memorize it. He came up with the jingle as part of his plan. In fact, we're actually shown the exact moment when the plan came into his head.
그래서 그런 건지 그동안 미술쌤도 여러 명 바꿔가면서 해봤는데요. 하나같이 한 달은 못 버티더라고요. 에휴, 다성이가 워낙 통제가 안 되기도 하고.
He even had to suppress laughter when he realizes the opportunity presented to him. One of my favorite bits, and it's so easy to miss, is when they're rehearsing the tuberculosis script.
여기까지 좀 내려보세요. 어쩔 수 없이 들었어요. 이걸 좀 함축시켜가지고 탁.
The mum is practicing along too, which means this is not the first time they've practiced this. They've done it so many times that the mum can memorize it. So this is one well thought out plan.
자기가 뭐라나 그 활동성 결핵 판정을 받았다고 누구에게 막 전화로 막 얘기하는데 본인한테 화가 나서 막 어쩔 줄 몰라 하는 그런 느낌?
아빠, 하기사 옛날에 왜 크리스마스 실 사서 붙이고 막 그런 시절 얘긴데.
And later on, when things fall apart,
같이 내려가 보시겠어요?
they really fall apart. And then it leads to murder. Well, attempted murder. Things are falling apart, right? They barely escape the house without being noticed. He's descended deep down from the high perch of the rich house down to his flooded poor house. He's on the verge of losing everything. He's lost his plan, he doesn't know what to do, and then his rock comes back to him.
야, 기호야. 뭐하냐 거기서? 어?
And he clings on to it for dear life.
돌은 왜 그렇게 껴안고 있냐?
이거요? 얘가 자꾸 나한테 달라붙는 거예요.
But he knows there's only one way out of this.
우와, 오빠 이게 뭐야?
When he's going down with the rock, he's not going down to make friends. is going down with a plan. But what are we supposed to take from this? Rocks make people murder? What's the rock saying? Ki-woo has aspirations like the rest of us. He wants Wi-Fi just like the rest of us. He wants a nice place to live in, a home with sunshine just like the rest of us. The Australian dream, the American dream, or whatever dream from where you're from, it's all pretty universal. But when you're poor, everything's harder. You don't have the opportunity to get tutoring, and you don't have the money to attend school. Because you don't have this opportunity, when the opportunity to tutor comes up, you have to lie. Because there's not enough jobs to go around.
아니 그 경비원 한 명만 뽑아도 말이야. 그 대졸자 4년제 500명씩이나 그 몰려드는 이 시대에 우리는 온 식구가 전원 취업했잖아.
To be a driver, you have to get rid of the current one by using drug panties. To get rid of the current maid, it's harder, so you have to escalate by giving her anaphylactic shock, which is actually a form of violence. But it's all temporary. It's a lie, and sooner or later that lie gets discovered, and then to keep the lie going, you have to escalate even further. And eventually you go from more violence to unintentional murder to just plain murder. That's because when there's not enough to go around, for what little that trickles down, you have to fight for it. And in those situations, for you to go up, someone has to go down. But for me, it's not the basement dweller that gives Ki-woo brain damage. Like, it's not really his fault. His wife just got killed, and all he ever wanted to do was keep on living. I think it's the poverty that they were born into, and the system that keeps them there. The same system that gives so much to so few. The same system that means some people get to live up on high, and others are stuck down low. Ki-woo's head physically gets crushed, but that's nothing compared to when he gets emotionally crushed. Well, you know the scene where he gives the rock back. I don't think he actually gives it back, or not in a meaningful way. He does so in a dream sequence that we find out later is a fantasy, and he doesn't actually give up on his aspirations. So the real tragedy of the story is that he never does let go of the rock. His aspiration endures, the system endures, and as the credits roll, Ki-woo sings about how hard he has to work to free his dad, how his muscles give out, his palms become hard and stiff, and rain finally falling on his red right cheek, his body eventually crushed by the heavy toil he endures for the rest of his life. But it will still not be enough to free his dad.